She abruptly stated, "I'm going to someone who understands me," and slammed the door. He stood stunned until his phone notified him of a message from her ex. "We need to discuss her deception." Then he smiled and began planning a meeting that would reveal the entire truth about her idealized narrative. John's keys hit the counter with a clink, the sound swallowed by the hum of Seattle's evening traffic outside. He just wrapped up a late coding session at the tech startup where he worked, his brain still buzzing with lines of Python. Normally, he'd find Amanda in the kitchen, humming off-key to some pop song while scrolling her phone. Tonight, the apartment was too quiet. No music, no clatter of dishes, just the faint creak of floorboards from the bedroom. He kicked off his shoes and called out, "Amanda? You home?" No answer. His stomach tightened, but he brushed it off. Maybe she was napping. She'd been distant lately, always glued to her phone, muttering about needing space. He'd chalked it up to her influencer hustle, endless posts about wellness and living her truth for her growing Instagram following. John didn't get it, but he supported her, even when she skipped their date nights for photo shoots. He pushed open the bedroom door. Amanda stood by the bed, zipping up a duffel bag. Her movements were sharp, deliberate, like she'd rehearsed this. "I'm leaving," she said, not looking up. Her voice was flat, like she was announcing a grocery run. John froze, his hand still on the doorknob. "Leaving? Like for the night?" She finally met his eyes, her gaze cold, unwavering. "No, Yun. For good. I'm done. I'm going to Ryan. He gets me in ways you never will." Ryan. The name hit like a sucker punch. Her ex from high school, the guy she'd dated briefly before John. He was a barista now, always posting about his free spirit life on social media. John had seen him at a coffee shop once, all tattoos and easy smiles, the kind of guy who seemed to glide through life without a care. John, with his steady job and weekend soccer coaching for kids, suddenly felt like a cardboard cutout next to that memory. "What are you talking about?" John's voice cracked, betraying the calm he was trying to hold on to. "We're married, Amanda. 2 years. You don't just walk out." She slung the bag over her shoulder. "I'm not happy. I haven't been for a while. Ryan and I reconnected, and it's real. He understands my soul, my dreams. You're just here. Stable, sure, but that's not enough." John's mind raced. Stable. The word stung. He'd spent years building a life for them, coding late to save for a house, teaching kids soccer because he loved giving back, even learning to cook her favorite tacos just to see her smile. And now, stable was an insult. "So, what? You've been talking to him behind my back?" he asked, stepping closer. His heart pounded, but he kept his tone even. He wasn't the yelling type. Amanda didn't flinch. "Yeah, for a couple of months. I didn't plan it, John. It just happened. I'm not the villain here. I'm just being honest." Honest. The irony burned. Honest? You're sneaking around, packing a bag, and dropping this on me like it's nothing. That's not honesty, Amanda. That's a script. Her lips twitched, but she didn't respond. She grabbed her phone and keys, brushing past him toward the door. "I'm not doing this. You'll be fine. You always are." The door slammed before he could say another word. The sound echoed in his chest, louder than the traffic outside. He stood there, rooted, staring at the empty space where she'd been. His socks were damp from a puddle by the sink. He hadn't even noticed the leak earlier. The oven beeped faintly, a reminder of the half-cooked dinner he'd forgotten. Everything felt wrong, like the world had tilted just enough to throw him off balance. He sank onto the couch, replaying her words. "Ryan gets me. You're just here." Each one cut deeper. But what gnawed at him most was her certainty, like she'd already rewritten their story and cast him as the forgettable side character. He wanted to call her, demand answers, but his phone buzzed before he could. A text from an unknown number. "Hey, it's Ryan. Saw your name on the reunion RSVP. We need to talk about Amanda. She's not who you think. Meet me there?" John stared at the screen, his pulse quickening. The high school reunion was this weekend in Tacoma, a 2-hour drive. He hadn't planned to go. Too many ghosts from a past he'd rather leave buried. But Amanda's name was on the RSVP list, too. He'd seen it weeks ago when a classmate sent the invite. He'd laughed it off then, assuming they'd skip it together. Now it felt like a trap, or an opportunity. His fingers hovered over the keyboard. He typed, deleted, typed again. Finally, he sent, "I'm in. See you there." He leaned back, the weight of the decision settling in. Ryan's text was a spark, a hint that Amanda's perfect exit wasn't as clean as she thought. John wasn't the type to plot revenge. He coached kids to play fair, after all, but something about that message lit a fire. Not anger, not yet. Curiosity. If Amanda was hiding something, he'd find out. And if Ryan knew her secrets, the reunion was about to be more than a nostalgic night of bad music and small talk. John stood, grabbed his laptop, and opened the reunion invite. He clicked yes before he could second-guess himself. Then he pulled up Amanda's Instagram. Her latest story was already live, a filtered shot of her laughing in a coffee shop, captioned "New chapters, new vibes." No mention of him, of their marriage, of the life she'd just torched. She looked free, glowing, like she'd already moved on to her next scene. But John wasn't done. Not yet. He closed the laptop, grabbed a beer from the fridge, and started planning. He'd go to that reunion, not to beg her back, but to see what Ryan knew. To see if the woman who'd walked out on him was the same one he'd vowed to love forever. And maybe, just maybe, to rewrite the ending she thought she'd already scripted. John pulled into the Tacoma Event Center parking lot, the engine of his old Honda ticking as it cooled. The reunion was in full swing inside, bass from a dated pop song thumping through the walls. He'd arrived early, not for nostalgia, but to get the lay of the land. His soccer coach instincts kicked in. Survey the field, know the players, anticipate the moves. Amanda would be here, and so would Ryan. John's gut told him this night was about to crack open secrets she thought she'd buried. He grabbed a stack of name tags from the check-in table, offering to help the overwhelmed organizer, a former classmate named Jen. "You're a lifesaver, John," she said, handing him a marker. He smiled, scribbling names, making small talk with early arrivals. It wasn't just politeness. Every handshake, every "good to see you," was a step toward blending in, making sure no one saw the storm brewing inside him. He'd spent the last 3 days replaying Ryan's text. "She's not who you think." It was a hook, and he was caught. The crowd thickened, voices overlapping with laughter and half-remembered stories. John kept one eye on the door, his pulse spiking every time it swung open. Then Amanda walked in. Her stride was all confidence, like she owned the room. She chatted with a group near the bar, tossing her head back in a laugh that didn't reach her eyes. John recognized that move. She was performing, curating her image for the crowd. He stayed put, stacking cups at the refreshment table, watching her work the room like a seasoned influencer. Then Ryan appeared. He slipped through the door, low-key, carrying a paper coffee cup like he'd just stepped out of his barista shift. John's grip tightened on a cup, nearly crushing it. Ryan scanned the room, spotted John, and gave a quick nod before heading his way. Amanda saw him too. Her laugh cut off mid-sentence, her posture stiffening like she'd been caught mid-act. She excused herself from her group, her eyes darting between Ryan and John, calculating. "Hey, man," Ryan said, reaching John. His voice was casual, but his eyes were sharp, like he was sizing up the situation. "Glad you came." "Didn't have much choice," John said, keeping his tone neutral. "Your text wasn't exactly subtle." Ryan smirked, but it wasn't smug. "Fair. Look, I didn't want to do this over the phone. It's messy, and you deserve to hear it in person." He leaned closer, voice dropping. "Amanda played us both. Back in the day, and now." John's jaw clenched. "Played how?" Before Ryan could answer, Amanda approached, her steps quick, purposeful. "John, Ryan, didn't expect you two together," she said, her voice tight, like she was forcing a smile. "What's this about?" Ryan didn't miss a beat. "Just catching up. You know, old times." His tone was light, but his eyes locked on hers, challenging. Amanda's fingers twitched around her phone, her usual prop for control. John stayed silent, letting the tension build. He'd learned from coaching kids. Sometimes you don't need to push, just let the game come to you. Amanda's gaze flicked to him, searching for a reaction. He gave her nothing, just a steady stare that made her shift uncomfortably. "Ryan, can we talk?" she said, trying to steer him away. "Privately?" "Nah," Ryan said, sipping his coffee. "I think John's earned a front row seat. Don't you?" Her face flushed, a crack in her polished facade. "This isn't the place," she hissed, glancing at the crowd. A few classmates were starting to notice, their conversations slowing as they sensed drama. "Then let's make it quick," John said, his voice calm but firm. "Ryan says you've got a history of lies. Care to clear it up?" Amanda's eyes widened, but she recovered fast. "Lies? Really, Ryan? You're dragging up high school drama now?" She turned to John, softening her tone. "He's just bitter. I broke things off with him years ago. He can't let it go. Ryan laughed, short and sharp. That's rich, Amanda. Tell him about the texts. The ones you sent me while you were planning your wedding. John's stomach dropped. He'd suspected she'd been shady, but hearing it confirmed was like a cleat to the chest. What texts? He asked, his voice low, dangerous. Amanda opened her mouth, but nothing came out. Ryan pulled out his phone, scrolling. She reached out last summer. Said she missed me, that you two were drifting. Wanted to meet up. I shut it down, but she kept pushing, even after you got married. John's mind flashed to last summer. Her late nights working, her sudden trips to clear her head. He'd trusted her, bought her excuses, even when they felt hollow. Show me, he said to Ryan. Ryan hesitated, then handed over the phone. John scrolled through the thread. Flirty messages, Amanda's words dripping with charm, promises of catching up soon. The dates lined up with their first anniversary, when she'd canceled their dinner plans for a brand meeting. His hands shook, but he kept his face blank. Amanda stepped closer, her voice urgent. John, it wasn't like that. I was confused, okay? It didn't mean anything. Didn't mean anything? John repeated, handing Ryan's phone back. You were planning our future while texting him behind my back. What else didn't mean anything? The room felt smaller, the music fading as more eyes turned their way. Amanda's composure was crumbling, her fingers gripping her phone like a lifeline. You're blowing this out of proportion, she said, but her voice wavered. Ryan crossed his arms. There's more, John. She pulled this before, back when we were dating. Told me she was single. Then I found out she was seeing you too. She's got a pattern. John's mind raced, piecing together the gaps in their early days. Her unexplained absences, her vague excuses. He'd been too trusting, too ready to see her as the hero of their story. Now he saw the script she'd written. Him as the reliable fallback. Ryan as the thrill she chased. Let's not do this here, Amanda said, her voice rising. John, can we talk outside? No, John said, planting his feet. You wanted to be the main character, Amanda. So perform. Explain it to everyone. Her eyes darted to the crowd, now openly watching. Jen, the organizer, hovered nearby, pretending to adjust the speaker, but clearly listening. Amanda's confidence was gone, replaced by a flicker of panic. She wasn't in control anymore, and John could feel the shift. He wasn't just the guy she'd walked out on. He was the one holding the truth now, and he wasn't letting go. Ryan leaned in, voice low. There's one more thing you should know. It's about what she told me after you two got engaged. Meet me by the bar in 10, and I'll spill. John nodded, his resolve hardening. Amanda's secrets were unraveling, and he was ready to pull the thread. The reunion wasn't just a nostalgia trip anymore. It was a reckoning. John stood by the refreshment table, the hum of the reunion crowd buzzing around him like static. His eyes tracked Amanda as she darted through the Tacoma event space, weaving between classmates with forced smiles, her phone clutched like a shield. She was rattled, her usual poise fraying after Ryan's bombshell about her texts. John's pulse thrummed with a mix of anger and clarity. He wasn't the naive husband anymore, blind to her games. Ryan's promise of one more thing hung heavy, and John was done waiting for answers. He spotted Ryan by the bar, nursing a soda, his posture relaxed but his eyes alert. John made his way over, ignoring the curious glances from old classmates. The music, a throwback pop hit from their high school days, blared, but it couldn't drown out the tension coiling in his chest. Amanda noticed his movement and intercepted, her voice low and urgent. John, don't do this. Let's just leave, talk somewhere else. No, John said, brushing past her. You don't get to direct the scene anymore. Her hand grazed his arm, but he shook it off, reaching Ryan in 3 strides. Ryan set his drink down, glancing at Amanda, who hovered a few steps behind. You sure you want this out here? He asked John, nodding toward the crowd. I'm sure, John said, his voice steady. She made this public when she walked out. Let's finish it. Amanda's eyes widened, her fingers tightening around her phone. John, you're making a mistake, she hissed, but the tremor in her voice betrayed her. The crowd was starting to notice, conversations dipping as heads turned. Ryan shrugged, unfazed. All right, then. He raised his voice just enough to carry. Hey, everyone, quick toast. The room quieted, eyes locking on him. Jen, the organizer, paused near the speakers, sensing the shift. Ryan held up his soda can, his tone casual but pointed. To old friends, old secrets, and the truth finally catching up. A few people chuckled, thinking it was a light-hearted jab. Amanda froze, her face paling. John stood still, arms crossed, waiting. Ryan turned to him, then to the crowd. Some of you know Amanda. Always the star, right? But stars don't always shine clean. Back when we dated, she told me she was single. Turns out, she was already with John. And years later, while they were married, she was texting me, trying to rekindle something. Gasps rippled through the room. Amanda stepped forward, her voice sharp. That's not true. You're twisting it, Ryan. You're just jealous I moved on. Ryan didn't flinch. He pulled out his phone, holding it up. I've got the receipts. Text from last year, while you were playing Happy Wife with John. Want me to read them? The crowd leaned in, the air thick with anticipation. John's heart pounded, but he kept his face blank. He'd seen those texts already. Flirty, manipulative, dated during their anniversary. But this wasn't just about him anymore. Amanda had built her life on a curated lie, and he wanted the world to see it crack. Stop it. Amanda snapped, her voice cracking. This is pathetic. You're both pathetic. She turned to the crowd, trying to regain control. He's lying because he can't handle rejection. John's just bitter I left him. John stepped forward, his voice cutting through hers. Bitter? No, Amanda. I was blindsided when you walked out for Ryan, saying he got you. But I found something you didn't want me to see. He pulled his phone from his pocket, opening a screenshot he'd found on their shared cloud drive that morning. An old email draft Amanda never sent, dated a month after their engagement. It was to Ryan, confessing she'd faked a pregnancy scare to keep him close while locking John in. He held up the screen, not reading it aloud, but letting the crowd see the text. You played us both, he said, locking eyes with her. You told Ryan you were pregnant to manipulate him, then told me you were overwhelmed when I proposed. You wanted control, not love. The room went silent, the music a distant hum. Amanda's mouth opened, but no words came. A classmate, Sarah, broke the quiet. Is that true, Amanda? You lied about a baby? Amanda's eyes darted to Sarah, then the crowd, her composure gone. It wasn't like that, she stammered. I was young, confused. I didn't mean to hurt anyone. You didn't mean to get caught, John said, his voice low but firm. You build a life on lies, and I'm done carrying them for you. He turned to Ryan. Anything else? Ryan nodded, stepping closer. One last thing. After you two got engaged, she called me, crying, saying she made a mistake. Said she wasn't sure about you, John, but needed stability. I told her to be honest. She didn't listen. Kept me on the hook until I cut her off. The crowd murmured, some shaking their heads, others whispering to each other. Amanda's face burned red, her hands shaking. You're ruining everything, she shouted, turning to John. You think this makes you a hero? You're nothing without me. John didn't blink. I'm enough without you. That's the difference. She spun on her heel, shoving through the crowd toward the exit. Her phone slipped from her hand, clattering to the floor, but she didn't stop to pick it up. The door slammed behind her, the sound echoing like a gavel. The crowd erupted in whispers, some shocked, others nodding like they'd always suspected. Jen approached John, her voice soft. You okay? Not yet, John said, exhaling. But I'm getting there. Ryan clapped a hand on his shoulder. Sorry it went down like this, man, but you deserve the truth. John nodded, his mind racing. Amanda's lies were exposed, her image shattered in front of the people she'd worked so hard to impress. But this wasn't the end. He could feel it. Something bigger was coming, something she was still hiding. As the crowd dispersed, whispering about the drama, John's phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. I know more about Amanda. Meet me tomorrow. Sarah. He stared at the screen, his resolve hardening. Amanda thought she'd escaped, but the truth was closing in, and John was ready to chase it. The morning after the reunion, John woke to the buzz of his phone on the nightstand. His head throbbed, not from drinking. He hadn't touched a drop, but from the weight of last night's showdown. Amanda's lies, exposed in front of their high school classmates, played on a loop in his mind. Her panicked exit, the clatter of her phone hitting the floor, the stunned silence of the crowd. It felt like a victory, but a hollow one. He wasn't done yet. The text from Sarah, a quiet classmate who'd reached out after Amanda fled, promised more answers. John needed them. He grabbed his phone and reread the message. I know more about Amanda. Meet me tomorrow. Sarah. His fingers hovered over the reply, hesitation creeping in. Part of him wanted to walk away, to let Amanda's unraveling be the end. But the truth had a pull he couldn't ignore. He texted back, "Coffee shop on 6, 10 a.m.? Sarah replied instantly, "See you there." John drove to the Tacoma coffee shop, the city's gray drizzle matching his mood. The place was busy, filled with the clink of mugs and the hum of conversation. Sarah was already there, tucked in a corner booth, sketching in a notebook. She looked up as he approached, her expression cautious but kind. "Thanks for coming," she said, closing the book. "I wasn't sure you'd want to hear this." "I'm here," John said, sliding into the seat across from her. "What did you see last night?" Sarah leaned forward, her voice low. After Amanda stormed out, I overheard her on the phone by the valet stand. She was frantic, talking to someone about fixing it before you found out. She mentioned a file, something she thought was deleted. I don't know what it was, but she sounded scared, John, like it could ruin her. John's mind raced. A file? His thoughts jumped to their shared cloud drive, where he'd found the damning email draft to Ryan. He'd stopped digging after that, too raw from the betrayal. "Did she say anything else?" he asked. Sarah nodded. She said, "If John gets it, I'm done." Then she hung up and left. "I remembered you from high school. Always helping out, never the loud one. You didn't deserve what she did." John exhaled, processing. "Thanks, Sarah. I'll look into it." He stood, his resolve firm. Whatever Amanda was hiding, he'd find it. Not for revenge, but for closure. Back home, John opened his laptop and logged into their old shared cloud account. Amanda had changed her password after leaving, but he still had access to the backups. He scrolled through folders, his heart pounding as he clicked on one labeled work_archive. Most were her influencer contracts, but one file stood out, a PDF titled Notes_2019. It was password protected. John tried her usual passwords, birthdays, pet names, then, on a hunch, typed Ryan. It opened. The file was a scanned letter, handwritten, dated a month after their wedding. It wasn't to Ryan. It was to someone named Mark, a name John didn't know. The words hit like a gut punch. "I can't tell John about the money. He thinks we're saving for a house, but I needed it for the retreat. You were worth it, but I can't let him find out." Further down, it detailed a $5,000 transfer from their joint savings to an account John didn't recognize. The retreat was the leadership conference Amanda had raved about, the one that changed her life. Now he saw why. John's hands shook as he read on. The letter ended with a plea. "If this gets out, I lose everything. Burn this." Mark hadn't burned it. He'd scanned it, saved it, and Amanda had buried it in their cloud, thinking it was safe. John cross-checked their bank records, confirming the transfer. She'd drained their savings for a fling, then lied about unexpected expenses. He believed her, worked overtime to rebuild their funds, while she played the perfect wife. He closed the laptop, his anger tempered by clarity. Amanda's lies weren't just personal, they were financial fraud. He called his lawyer, a friend from his soccer coaching days, and sent her the file. "Can we use this in the divorce?" he asked. "Absolutely," she replied. "This is misappropriation. She'll owe you restitution." John hung up, feeling a weight lift. He wasn't out for blood, but Amanda would face consequences. That evening, he posted a blog on a local Tacoma forum, not naming her, but sharing his story of betrayal and rebuilding. He wrote about trust, about learning to value himself after being dismissed. By morning, it had hundreds of shares, comments from strangers offering support. "You're better off," one wrote. "She's the one who lost." Meanwhile, Amanda was spiraling. Her Instagram stories, usually polished, turned defensive. "Haters will twist your truth, but I'm still standing." John didn't comment. He didn't need to. Her followers noticed the shift, unfollows ticking up as classmates from the reunion spread word of her lies. Her latest brand deal, a local yoga studio, dropped her after the story went viral. John heard through Jen that Amanda was staying with her sister, her influencer gigs drying up. He met Ryan for coffee the next day, needing to tie up loose ends. Ryan looked tired, his barista apron still on. "I didn't mean for it to blow up like that," he said. "But she played me too, man. I thought I was the only one she lied to back then." John nodded. "We were both collateral in her story, but we're not anymore." They talked for an hour, not as rivals, but as survivors of the same betrayal. Ryan offered to testify in the divorce if needed, and John thanked him, feeling an unexpected camaraderie. As he drove home, John's phone buzzed with another text from Sarah. Found something else. Call me. His grip tightened on the wheel. Amanda's secrets were like weeds. Pull one, and another sprouted. Whatever Sarah had, he'd face it. He wasn't the man Amanda had left, the one who'd let her walk away without a fight. He was awake now, ready to reclaim his life, one truth at a time. John sat in his Tacoma apartment, the lease freshly signed, his old life with Amanda packed away in boxes he'd donated or sold. The place was bare, just a couch and a coffee table, but it felt like a clean slate. His phone buzzed with Sarah's latest text. Check your email. Found something Amanda didn't want out. His stomach tightened, but he was done running from the truth. He opened his laptop, bracing for another blow. Sarah's email contained a forwarded message from a classmate, Lisa, who'd worked with Amanda on a side hustle, a crowdfunding campaign for a wellness retreat in 2020. The campaign had raised $10,000, but Lisa's attachment showed bank records. Amanda had pocketed half, claiming organizational fees, while the retreat never happened. The email trail showed Amanda dodging Lisa's questions, then ghosting her. Lisa had kept quiet, embarrassed, but after the reunion, she'd sent this to Sarah, knowing John deserved to know. John leaned back, exhaling. This wasn't just personal betrayal, it was theft, plain and simple. He forwarded the email to his lawyer, who called within the hour. This strengthens your case, she said. We can push for full restitution, maybe even fraud charges if Lisa cooperates. John didn't want Amanda in jail, but he wanted accountability. File it, he said. She needs to face this. The legal wheels turned fast. By the next week, Amanda was served papers for the divorce and a civil suit over the misappropriated funds. John's lawyer uncovered more. Amanda had racked up credit card debt in their joint name, hidden behind her influencer expenses. The court ordered her to repay John $7,000 from their savings and the crowdfunding scam, plus cover her own debts. She moved in with her sister in Seattle, her social media accounts going quiet as brands dropped her one by one. John didn't gloat. He didn't need to. The truth was doing the work, dismantling the facade Amanda had built. His blog post about betrayal had spread beyond Tacoma, picked up by a local news site. Strangers messaged him, sharing their own stories of being lied to, thanking him for speaking out. It wasn't fame he wanted. It was connection, something real. He started replying, offering advice, finding purpose in helping others navigate their pain. He met Sarah again, this time at a park near Mount Rainier. She brought her sketchbook, flipping through drawings of the mountain as they talked. I'm sorry you had to go through this, she said, setting the book down. But you're different now. Stronger. John nodded, watching hikers pass by. I was sleepwalking before. Amanda's lies woke me up. He told her about the lawsuit, the crowdfunding scam, how he'd sold their old house to start over. Sarah listened, then shared her own story, always in the background in high school, overlooked but watching. I saw you back then, she said. Always helping, never asking for credit. You deserve better. Their conversation stretched into the afternoon, easy and honest. Nothing romantic, just two people finding common ground. Sarah invited him to a hiking group she joined, and John said yes, craving something new. The next weekend, he hit the trails with her and a few others, including Mia, a teacher with a quick laugh and a habit of asking real questions. She asked about his soccer coaching, his coding, his life, not his past with Amanda. It felt like breathing fresh air after years in a locked room. Weeks later, John stood on a ridge overlooking Mount Rainier, the hiking group's chatter fading behind him. The divorce was finalized. Amanda ordered to repay him in installments. She'd sent one text, a half-hearted apology. I messed up, John. I am sorry. He didn't reply. Forgiveness wasn't for her. It was for him to let go of the weight. He deleted her number, not out of anger, but because he didn't need it anymore. He started sketching again, a habit from high school he'd abandoned. His first drawing was the mountain, jagged and steady, like the life he was building. He joined a coding boot camp to mentor new programmers, blending his tech skills with his love for teaching. The kids on his soccer team noticed his energy, chanting his name after a winning goal. For the first time, John felt like the main character in his own story, not a prop in someone else's. One evening, Mia texted him about a group hike. You in? She asked. John smiled, typing back, count me in. He didn't know where it would lead, but he was open, open to new people, new paths, new truths. Amanda's lies had broken him, but the pieces had rearranged into something stronger. He wasn't the man she'd left, the one she'd called just stable. He was John, awake, present, and ready for whatever came next. The final piece fell into place when Lisa, the crowdfunding victim, called. She'd filed her own claim against Amanda, inspired by John's blog. "You gave me courage," she said. "I thought I was alone." John thanked her, realizing his story wasn't just his. It was a spark for others to reclaim their own. As he laced up his hiking boots for the next trip, John glanced at his phone. A notification popped up. His blog had hit 10,000 views. He didn't read the comments. He didn't need the validation. The mountain was waiting, and so was his life. Amanda's lies had been a storm, but he'd walked through it. Now the sky was clear.